talking about Steph Curry here. You got to get it done.
Are the Warriors fumbling Steph?
Your franchise gets a guy like this once in a lifetime. You mortgage every piece of future you have. Go for it.
This man played at an all-NBA level last season.
The Warriors missed out on LeBron James. They didn't make the massive move a lot of people expected them to make. And now, instead of going all in on Steph Curry, Golden State seems much more comfortable developing the roster they already have. And there's one problem with that. Steph Curry is 38. The Warriors can't afford to wait. Steph can't either. He doesn't have 5 years to wait for the next great Warriors team. He might have a couple left, maybe 3. So I started thinking about something that would sound crazy not that long ago. Could this actually be Steph Curry's last season with the Warriors? And if it is, where would he even go? Because I have 5 teams that I think make sense, and number 1 is in Miami. It's not Denver and it's not San Antonio. It's the one destination that could actually bring Steph. Let's start with what actually happened this offseason. The Warriors wanted LeBron James, Steph wanted LeBron James, and for a while there was a legitimate chance that we could have seen Steph Curry, LeBron, and Draymond on the same team. Think about it. Steph and LeBron, 2 of the greatest players ever, teaming up in the late end of their careers for one more championship run. But it didn't happen. LeBron chose Philly, and once Golden State missed out on LeBron, the question became, what's next? Because the Warriors didn't respond by replacing him with another superstar. Instead, they largely relied on the roster they already have, their young players, developing them, and the team staying healthy. And I understand the strategy. Jimmy Butler is still there. The young players they want to see develop. You don't want to panic and completely mortgage your future just because you missed on one player. But there's something that makes that strategy a little uncomfortable. Steph Curry isn't part of the future. Steph is right now, and the present is running out of time. Now, let me make something clear. I'm not saying Steph Curry wants to leave Golden State. He hasn't asked for a trade. There's no reason to believe he's secretly demanding to be moved. Steph has spent his entire career in the Warriors, 4 championships, 2 MVPs, one of the greatest careers in NBA history, and he's repeatedly talked about wanting to finish his career in Golden State. So why are we even having this conversation? Because there's a difference between Steph wanting to leave and then Steph eventually deciding, I don't want to waste the rest of my career. That's the part I'm thinking about. Because imagine we're a few months into the season, Golden State's struggling, Steph is playing at an all-star level, superstar level, and Jimmy Butler is just trying to stay healthy. The young players aren't developing as quick as he hoped. And suddenly the Warriors are sitting around the middle of the Western Conference. At that point, what happens? Does Golden State make another huge move, or do they tell Steph, we're going to be patient, we'll figure this out? Because if you're Steph, you don't have much time left. And then there's Draymond Green. This is another reason I'm paying attention. Steph and Draymond have been together through basically everything. The championships, the dynasty, the down years, then the comeback, everything. But Draymond is now on a much shorter timeline than Steph. He's only locked in for one more season, and Steph is also approaching a major contract decision. So if Draymond decides to walk from the Warriors next offseason, it only gives Steph more incentive to look elsewhere. Now, again, I'm not saying that it's going to happen. I'm saying if it does, these are the 5 teams I'd be watching. At number 5, the Miami Heat. And honestly, this one is mostly because I want to see Steph Curry and Giannis and how they look together. Because basketball-wise, that would be ridiculous. Think about trying to defend this. Giannis gets the ball and starts attacking the basket. You can't send 2 defenders toward him because Steph Curry is standing 30 feet away. You leave Steph 3 points, stay with Steph, Giannis going straight to the rim. And you have Eric Spoelstra trying to figure out all the different ways to use them. Steph could be running around screens. Giannis could be setting screens for Steph. They could run pick and rolls. There's so many possibilities. But Miami's number 5 for me because I don't see a huge personal reason for Steph to leave Golden State and go there. The basketball fit would be amazing. The story not quite as strong. And if Steph Curry is going to leave the Warriors, I think the story's going to have to matter. Number 4, Denver Nuggets. Steph Curry, Nikola Jokic. Just think about the offense. Jokic is one of the greatest passing big men we've ever seen. Steph is constantly moving without the ball. You could have Jokic at the top of the floor while Steph runs around multiple screens. The second his defender loses him, Jokic finds him. 3 points. And then if Steph has the ball, Jokic sets him a screen. Now the defense has to decide whether they're going to trap Steph or leave Jokic. There really isn't a good answer. Steph could just focus on shooting, moving, and making plays without having to carry the entire offense every single night. But the problem is kind of obvious. How do you get Steph to Denver? The trade would be complicated. Golden State would have to agree. Steph would have to want it badly. And Denver would have to decide that bringing a 38-year-old superstar is worth the price. So I love the fit. I just don't know if it can happen. Number 3, Boston. And I already know somebody's going to hate this one because Steph Curry in a Celtics jersey would look completely wrong. But forget the jersey for a second and look at the basketball. Boston already has an offense built around spacing, shooting, and creating three-point opportunities. Now imagine putting Steph Curry into that. Steph wouldn't have to be the entire offense. He'd have guys around him who can defend, guys who can shoot, guys who can attack the basket. And Boston has the kind of organization where the goal isn't simply making the playoffs. The goal is winning the championship. And if Steph ever gets to the point where he's thinking, I don't care where I play anymore, I just want one more ring, Boston becomes very interesting. But I still can't put them number 1 because there's another team that might make even more sense. Number 2, San Antonio. Wemby and Curry. That's a ridiculous combination, but let's think about the basketball. Imagine Steph coming off a screen while Wemby's standing near the basket. The defense has 2 choices: stay with Steph, Wemby gets the ball against a small defender. Help on Wemby, Steph gets an open 3. And here's the part I really like. Steph wouldn't have to be the guy anymore. Wemby would be the centerpiece. Steph could come in as the veteran superstar who gives San Antonio something they haven't had. An all-time shooter, an offensive creator who's already been through everything. And then defensively, you got Wembanyama behind him. If Steph gets beat off the dribble, you got 7'5" alien waiting at the rim. That's probably one of the best defensive safety nets Steph could have at this stage of his career. And San Antonio isn't a random team. They're building around Wemby. They're trying to create the next great Spurs team. Steph could potentially become the veteran who helps push them over the top, but there's still one team I'd put above them. At number 1, Charlotte. Now I want to be clear, I'm not saying Charlotte is the most likely team to trade for Steph. I'm saying that if Steph ever leaves Golden State, this might make the most sense as the final chapter. Steph Curry was born in Charlotte. His father, Del Curry, spent 10 seasons with the Hornets. Del became one of the most beloved players in the franchise history, and earlier this year, Charlotte retired his number. Steph was there with his family, and Steph was asked about the possibility of playing for Charlotte. Specifically, what would happen with the number 30. And Steph didn't exactly slam the door shut. He joked about the possibility of an exception being made for him. Now, I'm not taking that as Steph saying, I'm going to Charlotte. That's obviously not what happened, but it's interesting. Because if Steph ever reaches the point where he's done chasing everything, Charlotte makes a ton of sense. Imagine Steph Curry's final season. He comes back to the city where he was raised. His father is sitting courtside. His family's there. The Hornets are competitive again. And if Steph's trying to make one final playoff run, that's not just a basketball story. That's a Curry family story. And honestly, that's why I have Charlotte as number 1. Now, after everything I just said, I still think Steph Curry's probably staying in Golden State. Steph hasn't asked out. The Warriors still want him. And he made it clear he wants to retire as a Warrior. So I'm not predicting a trade. I'm asking what happens if Golden State gives him a reason to consider one. Because if the Warriors come out this season and it looks like a contending team, forget everything I said, Steph is going to stay. But if we're sitting here in January and the Warriors are wasting another year of Steph Curry's career, I think the conversation might change. Steph Curry is probably the most competitive player in the NBA other than LeBron James. So let me know what you guys think. Comment, like, subscribe, and share. And give me your thoughts down below.